Anyone fascinated by the natural world has probably wondered why some animals have such strange-looking sense organs. The elephant with its huge ears. The antennae of a butterfly, which up close look like feathers. The snake with its split tongue. And what about less obvious enhancements, like the sensory cells on a crocodile's skin? Surely these evolutionary traits aren't just for decoration. In fact, the size, shape, and location of these animal sense organs is all for a purpose. And just like us, animals rely on their senses to communicate with each other, find their way around, stay safe, and most importantly, to find food. When you see how superior some animal senses are compared to those of humans, you might wonder how we ever managed to stay on top of the food chain. Animal super senses. You won't believe what's possible. On this episode of Animal Super Senses, we examine how things taste and how vital scent is from the animal perspective. You may think that there are no gourmets in the natural world. After all, animals eat for survival, not for enjoyment as we know it. So surely only humans are capable of differentiating one taste from another. Actually, it's much more complicated and interesting than that. In the animal world, the distinction between taste and scent tends to be more blurred. For example, for terrestrial animals, those that walk on land, taste is all about detecting chemicals called tastants that stimulate the sensory cells in a taste bud. But their sense of smell will also detect the scent of odorants carried through the air. In mammals, taste receptor cells are scattered all over the tongue. In other creatures, they can be located in some fairly odd places. How taste and smell receptors work underwater, well, it's a whole other world. Let's begin our journey, as it were, from the ground up, with a look at snakes and their taste for a good bite. This slithery character is a rattlesnake, such as can be found across the Americas, from southern Alberta to Argentina, in a variety of habitats. The one thing that all rattlesnakes have in common with other snake breeds is their uniquely good taste. They use those famous forked tongues to gather particles from the air and identify them on a special membrane called Jacobson's organ. Put more simply, they flick their tongues to taste the scents around them. So next time you see a snake sticking its tongue out at you, remember, it's not trying to sting you from afar, but searching for prey. Tasting their next meal before they eat it, you could even say. They have an exceptional sense of smell to begin with, but their Jacobson's organ adds a whole other dimension. The Jacobson's olfactory sense organ was actually discovered by Ludwig Jacobson, who it's named after. The organ that now bears Jacobson's name is located on the roof of the mouth in many reptiles and mammals. Mammals would include us, surely. Well, apparently, humans are an exception. Now, unlike snakes and lizards, mammals that come with Jacobson's organ as standard equipment tend not to have long forked tongues that they can whip out at will to sample the air. So instead, they do something else. It's called flemening. Domestic cats do it, for instance. And so does this character, the tapir. Looking a bit like a pig with a trunk, tapirs actually belong to the same family as the horse and the rhinoceros. They can be found in the jungle and forest regions of Central and South America and in Southeast Asia. Tapirs' eyesight isn't great, but they have a heightened sense of smell, plus the secret sensor that is the Jacobson's organ. When they curl their upper lip and look like they're sneering, the same way you have seen some domestic cats do, they're actually exposing the Jacobson's organ, so they can taste exactly what's in the air. The tapir is an herbivore. That long snout with a modified lip comes in handy for tearing fruit off branches, for example. What the leaves taste like to the tapir, perhaps we'll never know, but we do know how it finds its sustenance. Below the waterline, whether that's a pond, river, or the ocean waves, taste and scent is a whole other matter. One underwater animal who is guided by scent is this sinister and slippery-looking character, the moray eel. Even though there are hundreds of species of moray, and they range in size from 25 centimeters to 4 meters, the menacing appearance of a moray eel with its mouth constantly agape is unmistakable. Morays are carnivores who feed on fish and invertebrates. They're also found in oceans temperate and tropical, though they thrive in the greatest number around warm coral reefs, notably in Hawaii. They have something of a reputation for aggression and what might even be called a bad temper. But actually, when they sense humans approaching, they usually flee or hide in crevices. Mind you, it's usually from these same crevices, nooks, and crannies that morays launch their fatal attacks. When they do, they are led, as it were, by the nose. Moray eels' eyesight is poor, and they rely on their tube-shaped nostrils to scent and seek out prey. Fascinatingly, one of the moray eel's preferred victims, the octopus, has evolved a chemical in its jet black ink, which is capable of neutralizing the moray eel's powerful sense of smell. On its travels, the moray eel will quite possibly also come across the goatfish. These are also found in shallow waters, particularly in warm or tropical climes, skimming along coral reefs over mud or sand. They have twin barbels hanging underneath their chin, which must be where they got their name. As they look like goat's whiskers, Or, if you're feeling particularly imaginative, like a droopy hipster's beard. Some goatfish are nocturnal and have a chameleon-like ability to change their color, but what they all seem to have in common is their hearty appetite. Goatfish spend their entire lives looking for food. How they find it is by utilizing those barbels. Goatfish are what is known as bottom feeders, skimming along looking for their next meal in the sand below. Those barbels are spotted with taste buds that will zone in on anything that's good enough to eat. For example, shrimp, crabs, clams, and clamworms. Goatfish are guided by their sense of taste and smell to their next meal, and the one after that, and the one after that. But there are some underwater animals who deploy this super sense not so much in the hunt for food, but as a sophisticated homing device. It's called natal homing by the experts. Now, homing is something we associate with animals above the borderline, most commonly cats and pigeons. But it is now known that several marine animals, such as elephant seals, salmon, and sea turtles, may travel considerable distances of ocean before they return as adults to reproduce in the same natal area they respond.